Happy Monday to you, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to wrap up a little mini-series I've been doing on canine pharmacotherapy. Unfortunately, one of the dark sides of owning a dog. I've had to treat my own personal dogs, and I've treated thousands, and I can definitely empathize with anything that you're going through. It's really tough, but there's a light side of it. You can get through the darkness and you can step out into the light. And I'm going to talk to you today about how we're going to get that done. Remember, if your dog is suffering from anything unusual, anything that we would determine that was not species typical, not dog typical. Again, even like us humans, it's one thing to be afraid of being consumed by a fire. It's a whole nother thing to be afraid of a fire that's in a fireplace. That's what I'm talking about, unusual. It's okay to be concerned about a thunderstorm, but to rip a dog wall down, to crack your frontal skull, your frontal bone in your skull, your zygomatic cheekbones, to rip out 3 teeth, 67 sutures, to get into a closet when there's 3 other closet doors open, like Sweet Elsie in a blog that I wrote, a dog I treated many years ago for one of the most severe cases of astrophobia I've ever seen. Or watchful Walter, who paces all night long until he wastes away. He has no more energy, nothing. Hypervigilance, one of the hallmarks of a GAD, where you think that you have to stay awake. Heads up, the ecology of fear, to be able to stay alive. Always on the lookout for that possible threat, that thing that is endangering your life. That's what I'm talking about. And the list goes on and on. So what do we do about that? Canine pharmacotherapy is the use of medications, a variety of medications, a variety of psychopharmaceutical medications to facilitate. The medications by themselves are not magic pills. They are not. You should never have a discussion with your veterinarian about your dog, about you administering any sort of psychopharmaceutical medication without the discussion of therapy, the accompanying therapy. In fact, the therapy is the workhorse. It is the driving force behind your dog's change. Sweet Elsie, read the blog. It's on our website, tamingthewild.com. She ran into a closet for 7 years every time a thunderstorm came around. Every time. And then one weekend when no one was home, someone inadvertently shut that closet door. And she ran into a full steam at 3 o'clock in the morning when a very severe thunderstorm came over the house. And she broke her frontal bone, her zygomatic cheekbones, and she rammed it over and over and over and over again. And when that failed, she tunneled her way through the drywall, through the sheetrock, right through the 16 inches on center, baby, 2x4s, all the way through. Screws, wires, you name it. And yet again, there were 3 other closets wide open. But for Elsie, it was that closet, the one she'd run into for 7 years. And even though we gave her the proper medication that would lower her, trap her in the middle of her arousal column when her stress response was mobilized from the thunderstorm, even though we did that, even though we gave her a panicolytic benzodiazepine to disrupt the panic, she still, out of habit, out of procedural memory, for the same reasons why you can text and drive a car, why you can ride a bicycle and not think of it, she kept running to the closet. And the owner asked me about 2 months into the program, when I asked, how's the dog doing, getting some feedback. She says, you know, Bryan, I think the medications are starting to work because she doesn't stay in the closet as long. She comes out sooner after a storm. She also doesn't vocalize as much as what she was doing. However, she's still running to the closet. Bryan, this is good as it's going to get. And I told her, I said, ma'am, unless we step in and do the therapy, you're right. That's as good as it's ever going to get. That dog will run to that closet forevermore. Probably if you could talk out loud, you'd probably hear the dog asking a question to itself. Like, what the heck am I doing in here? Why am I doing in this closet? Why am I in this closet? I can't help myself. I have to go to the closet. So the therapy has to happen. It must be part of the pharmacotherapy program. If you do not, you may have a measure of success, a little bit of relief. You might be able to mitigate some danger to a very low degree, but you will not get the dog to a point in which you can honestly say you've increased dramatically the quality of life for that animal and for you, of course, because you're the one that owns the suffering animal, so count you in too, and mitigate the safety risk. So today I want to highlight two things. I want to real quickly, and I'm going to give this a really broad stroke because I just don't have enough videos left. I don't have enough time to go over this in the detail that it really deserves. But I just want to give you hope. I want to plant in your head, if you own a dog, that, like I've been describing over the last 2 days, there is help for you and that dog. There is help. Now that you're aware of it, go do it. And I'm telling you, so many people are not aware of it. I've had psychiatrists as my clients. And when I tell them about pharmacotherapy with their dogs, every single one of them, and I've had tons of them over the years, went like this. You know, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, the stress response is non-specific. I should have known that, but I didn't think of that. I didn't think about it with my dog. People don't think about it. I've had as my clients, I've been blessed to be in the company of some of the most brilliant people in the world. And no one thinks about a dog having a mental illness similar to that of a human. And definitely not thinking about treating it like they would a human being. But it must be done. So let me kind of go over with you just real quick in a broad stroke. And then what I'm going to do in the second half of this video, I'm going to share with you an incredible, heartwarming story, just one of thousands that I could share of the progression that occurred from a dog who I would call probably, I don't call too many domestic dogs feral, because feral dogs can live completely and utterly without humans. They're literally domestic wolves to a high degree. So she was as feral as they could be, probably more of a free-ranging dog, but she lived for months on her own in the suburbs around Dallas, Texas. And I want to tell you about what happened when she was finally caught and where she is today. Today, as we're talking today. That transformation that started last May. Okay, so real quick on the first half. Pharmacotherapy. First thing you have to decide right off the bat. Are you going to avoid the provocative event? Or the provocative stimuli or stimulus? Or you're going to intervene. You have to decide. Many cases of rehoming, relocation with the dog, is avoiding the provocative stimulus. Yes, I've done that. I've had dogs that wanted to attack people, that were very fearful of unfamiliar people. But because I lived in a densely populated area, that was a risk that shouldn't be taken. And plus that, but the dog then suffers from pathological stress. So the dog was relocated to the middle of nowhere, USA. And by doing that, the dog did not have to go on psychopharmaceutical medications. It did not have to go through a pharmacotherapy program. I simply removed it. If you're afraid of flying, take another mode of transportation. If you're claustrophobic, don't go into tight spaces. Yeah, there are ways that we can avoid those things that will send our stress response through the roof to that high level in which, not the healthy stress, but the very harmful and debilitating stress. So if you can avoid it, fine. But if you can't, you must intervene. And when you intervene, that means in the cases I'm talking about, we're using some sort of chemical aid. And that chemical aid can come in the form of antidepressants, benzodiazepines, agonists like trazodone. You can have clonidine, it lowers the heart rate of the animal. Yeah, you slow the ticker down. I talked about it with undershirts. If you can slow the ticker down, everything will go down with it, including the stress response. So you can do that. You can use gabapentin, which will cause an animal, it's a pain medication that will cause the animal a little bit of an euphoric type state, a lot of calmness and relaxation. There's many medications you can use to keep the dog from getting to that, again, that dangerous level, that level where it is immune to your input, immune to training, immune to deactivation, counter-conditioning, and rebuilding and reestablishing of desired responses. That's what I'm talking about. You need help. So chemicals help with that. They help greatly with that, with humans and with dogs. So you give the dog the meds. Now, depending on the medications you give, there's a timeline in which you will achieve a chemical benefit from that medication. Antidepressants in dogs, whether it's a tricyclic, whether it's an SSRI, SNRI, whatever it is that you're using, typically takes for the average dog, and in my professional experience, about 1 month to 6 weeks. So I'm going to write 4 to 6 weeks for an depressant. Okay, now benzos, gabapentin, CBD, trazodone, clonidine, all of those have a half-life, which means they're more in your face, they're more there. Your animal takes that typically about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the dosing, depending on your dog's metabolism. Your dog, if it's already elevated up in the anxiety column, the arousal column, or if it's in the calm zone when you first give it, will depend upon when you have the onset of the effects from that medication. But it has a half-life. So typically, let's say you give a dog 50 milligrams of something that has a half-life. In 7 hours, it's supposed to have about 25 milligrams still in the system. Now here's the problem with that. When you give any sort of medication to your dog, part of what you're doing in the very beginning of pharmacotherapy is you're not doing the therapy just yet. Again, I don't know if my chemicals are going to disrupt my dog's panic yet. I don't know if my chemicals are actually going to be an aid to what I'm about to do with the dog. Will I take a fearful and panic animal and reduce it to a concerned animal? That's what I need to do. So you're always on the hunt for what's called the effective dose. The effective dose. What is effective? What is helping you out? And that may take a while. So even though antidepressants may kick in about 4 to 6 weeks, you could be 8 weeks into your program just trying to find out what chemicals work. Do I need 0.5 milligram of alprazolam, or do I need 1.0 milligrams of alprazolam? 100 milligram of trazodone or 200 milligram? What do I need? 300 milligrams of gabapentin? What is it that I need? You have to get into it. You have to be very patient with pharmacotherapy. Incredibly patient. All of training requires patience, but I'm telling you that your middle name should be Job. That's how patient you have to be in pharmacotherapy. Always on the lookout, always observing, being patient. You have to tweak these medications like no tomorrow. Okay, once you find the effective dose, now you're ready for the therapy. So that's the line I just drawn right there. We're now ready for therapy. Medications continue, they're behind the scenes, they're helping you out, but now we get into therapy. What is therapy? With Elsie, I'll use Elsie as an example. We had to deactivate a very unsafe and undesired coping mechanism. Running to that closet, the enabling owners allowed that to happen for 7 years. Good Lord, if I ran into a closet every time there's a thunderstorm for 7 years, I'm going to be like Elsie. I'm going to a closet. I don't care how many closet doors open. I'm going to that closet. That had to stop. So once we had the chemicals working, we were able to then incorporate some regular training. Things like stay, things like place, things like lie down. So now thunderstorms are approaching. She immediately, without even thought, like an instinct, she wanted to move to the closet. But again, she was on the long line now. Now, so, no. I love you, Elsie, but you're not going to the closet. Lay down. Or get on the cotton duplex and do stay. And in the beginning, well, she tried to panic. She really tried to panic, but she couldn't panic because the medications were keeping her from panicking. So she became concerned. And I remember her to this day looking at me like, please, Bryan, please let me go to the closet. Please let me go to the closet. It breaks your heart. It'll rip your heart out. But you have to stand there and go, I got it, sweetheart. I got it. You're good now. You're good. So she stayed until the storm passed. And we did it over and over again. We even used desensitization type tapes that she used for thunderstorms. But again, those only work so much because dogs can detect barometric changes in pressure. And they know when thunderstorms coming along before the Weather Channel knows it's coming. But she worked through it. And finally, several months later, she no longer desired to go to the closet. The closet door was shut. She'd just hop up on the sofa or lay down on the floor. Was she concerned? Yes. But no more than what you would be. Because we deactivated. Also, we did what's called counter conditioning, which means that during that storm, where she did that good down, she did a good steak, bam, there's a great treat. Did she eat it at first? No, she didn't. Remember, one of the hallmarks of the stress response is the inhibition of more energy storage. Do not store energy. This is all about short term, or don't care about what's going to happen in a day from now, 2 days from now, or even an hour from now. It's about surviving the moment. It is truly here and now. So she didn't want the food at first, but then she did. Then she really did. And we just made sure it was the good stuff. So we countered conditioned with good stuff. We also started to play with her, play with the ball. We all acted very calm. We played with one another. Humans play with each other. We did things like that during the time in which there's no thunderstorm, Elsie was an incredible dog. It's kind of like the rat that is shocked in a cage, but receives a warning ahead of time. That rat receives 2 pieces of information. 2 pieces. It learns when the warning goes off, something dreadful is about to happen. But it also learns that when there is no warning, something dreadful is not about to happen. And therefore it can relax. The thunderstorm, the boom in the distance, was a warning. So without that warning, like safety signal hypothesis, which I love, helped her to relax. So we incorporated all those exercises, all those behaviors, all those events that occurred during the relaxation periods, during the periods between the thunderstorms. That was counter conditioning. And then we rebuilt. We rebuilt her response to the thunderstorm. That stay came in, that place came in. We started to make loud noises around her. Really loud noises, speakers, stereos, you name it. Anything and everything to bring down her sensitivity to loud noises, period, to a level in which she was able to control her behaviors, in which she believed that her coping mechanisms were successful. Yeah, learned helplessness was gone. She recognized when her behaviors and her response to the thunderstorm was working, when it kept her alive. And she learned that laying on a cot made the thunderstorm go away. Doing down made it go away. Just being calm, it went away. In other words, it goes away, and it never does consume me. And that is everything. So once you go through all of that, then you slowly start to taper off of any medications that helped you get to this point. Slowly. Why not? Because in many cases that the dog's body needs to, like a withdrawal type issue, you're looking for rebound. Hey, so if I have her on 80 milligram fluoxetine, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, then I'm going to go down to 60 milligram for about 2 weeks. I'm looking, observing. Remember, antidepressants achieve a global lessening of the anxiety. Everything's good. Another 2 weeks, 40 milligrams, 20 milligrams, and we're off. And now we're good to go for the rest of the dog's life. Another thing you need to understand when you're doing this, I ask owners all the time, you have a dog trying to bite people unprovoked because they're fearful of them. They're trying to attack other dogs. They're attacking dogs in your family. They're running the closets for 7 years. I ask them, okay, I got point A. I evaluate your dog. I know exactly where point A is. You tell me, where's point B? And every time they tell me a dog who will be perfectly happy in a thunderstorm like Elsie, or a dog that won't be fearful of anyone, a dog who would never bite anyone ever again or another dog ever again, a dog that I can leave at home and it will snore on the couch, I tell them, not happy. I'm honest with them. You don't use the word cure in pharmacotherapy. Again, you use negotiated settlement. And for most dogs, they get to a point of about 8.7. That's it. So what is 8.7? Is Elsie being concerned about thunderstorms. She never relaxed. She never snored during a thunderstorm. It's dogs that want to attack everyone. Now all of a sudden, they will leave 9 out of 10 alone. It's dogs who are constantly attacking dogs in the household. Now they have a species-typical dominance-type hierarchy in which attacks are predictable, in which they are justified because of hierarchy situations. We have that. That's what we have. And that's as good as it gets for most. I've only had, and I was trying to just think yesterday, how many dogs over all these decades have I helped treat? And I don't know. It's definitely the tens of thousands. But I will tell you this much, about this many. See that in one hand? I can name them. Got to point B. You know, and you kind of wish that never happened. You honestly do. Because once it gets there, then by golly, you think, well, it's possible. But I really don't share that with too many owners. Walter was that way. Read the blog on him. That way. I still remember his owner. He came to me and said, Bryan, you got to help me with this dog. All night long, he goes tick, 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 tick across the floor. No matter how much I trim his nails, he had no Irish accent. And he goes, no matter how much I trim his nails, he just goes everywhere. He sticks his nose in the glass all night long, all night long, all night long. He keeps me up all night long. And then when his program was finished, I think it was about 9 months later for him, the owner came to me and said, Bryan, I don't know whether to hug you or to punch you. Because now my dog no longer goes click, click, click on the floor, just sticking his nose in the windows all night long and whining. Now he snores all night long. You got to give me some relief. What can you give me for that? It was so funny. And it's so heartwarming. It's endearing. Walter truly made it to point B. So guys, be patient. Lower your expectations just a little bit. It's about achieving a higher quality of life. It's about safety. It's about giving your animal a chance at point B. But if you don't get there, anywhere greater than A is progress. Anything. And of course, you have to weigh the whole thing on a cost-benefit analysis. What is the cost of this? What's it taking out of me, sapping out of me as a human being? What is the cost? What is the danger that could occur to another human, maybe even a family member? All of that has to be taken into account. It all does. If you've got children, you've got to keep your children safe. I know you love this dog. I know you want to help this dog, but your responsibility is to your children first. If you have family and friends, their safety is your responsibility. The dog has to come second during that moment. And these are discussions that you need to have with anyone that's going to do pharmacotherapy with your dog, which there will not be very many because there are not very many skilled practitioners in this world. They need to have an honest conversation with you. And then you need to take that on the value of that conversation and not get into self-pity or get angry at the practitioner. Because that person, if they're doing this, if they have the knowledge and the skills to do this, then they've been around animals long enough to have seen it all. And they're going to shoot you straight. Because you don't make any money in this, just so you know. You make money in your heart. You cash into your emotional bank. It's what you do. Because it rips your heart out, it rips the heart out of your owners, and you feel for them. It is hard. It is hard. So guys, if you have a practitioner tell you, I think the dog needs to go, we can find another home where it can avoid the provocative event or the stimulus, then you need to listen to that. You need to. You don't need to make the decision right then, but by golly, you need to listen to it. So that was really brief. That's in a nutshell. That's how it gets done. Now let me share with you a heartwarming story. Okay, over here on this board, you'll see a dog named Snow White. Yeah, a solid black dog named Snow White. Go figure. Okay, here's the story behind Snow White. Over a year ago, Snow White was abandoned, running loose out in the suburbs and outlying areas of Dallas, Texas. And she was out there long enough. In this picture here, you see the signs that got put up. And this is actually when she was captured the first time. She was captured one time, and then she escaped and was running loose again. She ran for so long, people were leaving out food bowls for her. And this is caught on someone's security camera to feed her. And you can see she's been nursing because she was running wild for so long. She had pups. She had pups. Someone even threw out a toy for her to have for her pups. You see the food sprinkled out on the road because no one could get close enough to her to catch her or to help her in any other way. So people were trying to help her. They're trying to capture her so they could save her. But she ran. She eluded them for months and months and months, and hundreds of people helped out. They chipped in. They allowed traps to be placed in their backyard. So many people joined in, and God bless you for doing that. That's an awesome thing. Okay, and then she was captured. And when she did, she went to a home by a woman by the name of Charlene Jackson. She's a warrior. I mentioned her before on my pharmacotherapy sessions and videos because it's the absolute truth. She's a real warrior. She's a mother. She has her motherly responsibilities. She's a housewife as well. And she's also a worker. She has a job. And yes, she still takes upon her to bring in dogs like Snow White among her own resident dogs. Wow. And some people complain that there's not enough hours in the day. Some people complain about other things in life that they have no business complaining about. When there's warriors like this out there that are doing everything that they can and beyond, going the extra mile. That's a lonely place. She's out there. She's lonely. Here she is, I told you. One of the hallmarks of the stress response is not just a fast mobilization of energy to all those muscles that you need to stoke those muscles so you can get away from that threat, but it's also the inhibition of energy storage. And here, this is chicken. This is really good chicken. I think it is anyway. I didn't taste it, but Charlie says it's good. Charlie says it's good. You see the dog yawning, licking, all of these are signs of stress, super stress. This was shortly right after she was caught. She was taken to Charlotte's house. The dog refused the chicken. And now moving forward, in this video here, we're trying to get her to a point. Now, in this video, she's finally been on her medications for a little over a month and a half. But here, she will not allow any sort of physical contact. We're now starting to work on deactivation because if we're going to find a home for Snow White, if a home was going to be found for her, she had to be able to be touched and handled by humans. That's just part of dog ownership. That's just a necessity. That's necessary. That's a need, not a want. You got to be able to handle your dog. You also need to be able to put a leash on your dog so you can take your dog to see your veterinarian, maybe to a groomer, take it somewhere else. You have to be able to keep your dog on a leash, especially a dog that's used to just running. So again, as you can tell from the video, the dog was very afraid of the leash. The tail was tucked. She moved away, trying to escape the loop of the leash. But we proceeded on because we had medications helping us. And then finally, after several weeks, the leash was able to go on Snow White, and she started to move with the leash. And again, she's on medications at this time. She's on an antidepressant. So we're also using trazodone as an adjuvant to help keep the dog's arousal column low. Okay, then we move on from here. And now we're finally going out for a walk out in the Dallas suburbs. So now it's progressed to a point where she'll even go for a walk. Man, I tell you, it's amazing. And then look here, this was in December. Now the dog is taking treats and even allowing her paws to be trimmed. Look at that. Amazing. A leash is on the dog right there in that video. Taking treats, allowing the paws. How many dogs that are not on pharmacotherapy program won't allow you to trim their nails? Okay, moving on from there. Not only was the dog fearful of humans, it was fearful of other dogs. It did not want to be around other dogs. And here, these are all of Charlene's personal dogs. Taco, I did a video on Taco. And you can see Snow White snuggled up on the sofa with all the resident dogs. So she accepted them, and they accepted her. And this is the final picture. And this is Charlene, and she gave me permission to share this. And there's Snow White. It's amazing. So Snow White is really ready. Charlene and I are going to meet this week, and we're going to talk about the tapering phase of the medications. And once we taper off, it'll be up to Charlene to find her a new home to go to and live with, or she'll keep her herself. And that's the decision that I don't know. And I leave it truly up to Charlene. But thank you, Charlene. If you're watching this video, thank you. Thank you, your rescue group that you work with. Thank you to all those people who made this possible. There is no doubt that Snow White has been given a new lease on life. There's no doubt if she'd run around the streets for much longer, she would have been killed. She would have wandered out to the ranchers, to all the rancher farms and ranches, in which many of them kill stray dogs because the stray dogs try to kill their livestock. She would not have lived very much longer. But now this dog has a great opportunity at life. Wow. And it also took not just all those people, but took Charlene Jackson believing in it, trusting it. So many people, they don't trust the medication. They don't trust the system. She had the courage to say, I'm going to do it. And then everything I told her to do, everything. And some of that, yes, included using slip collars. Things that other people will tell you, oh, you're not supposed to use with a dog. Well, if we hadn't done that, the dog would have backed out of that collar and been gone in a second. We did what we needed to do. We fell in line with nature and with proven science. And now we have a dog who snuggles up to her children, her family, her other dogs. In other words, we are darn close to point B, or 8.7. We'll never get to point B with Snow White. But by golly, I think we're going to get to 8.8. And that's an incredible difference. So guys, that wraps it up for Canine Pharmacotherapy. You're aware of it now. You're aware of it. And that's the first step. Now that you're aware of it, then you get to start asking questions of professionals like your veterinarian. If your veterinarian cannot perform canine pharmacotherapy, then he can refer you to a certified veterinary behaviors. These are the people post-veterinary school that have now gone to training to learn how to do this. You can also reach out to me. I can only help so many people, I'll just be honest with you. But I'll do everything that I can to make sure that you're in good hands, and if not, Charlene and I have never met in person. We have never physically stood in the same room. Everything we've done has been over phone calls, text, Zoom, web meetings, web conferencing, everything that we've done. So it can be done. I don't have to touch Snow White. And neither do some of these people, other people that can help you. Get the help. At least get an evaluation and find out where is point A. And then take it. Good news, bad news. Remember, what are the factors of the stress response? Predictive information. Which devil is worse, the one you know or the one you don't know? To me, it's always been the one I don't know. Because the one I don't know doesn't give me any sort of control. And if I have control, then my stress response is already lowered. I pray for you. I hope that you do well in your journey with your dog. And never discount pharmacotherapy or big pharma. It'll actually save your dog's life. And in the process, possibly save yours. Talk to you tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow is the last day of the 365. Tomorrow will be day 365. Tune in for that. I have a final message for you as we come to the end of this journey. Enjoy your day. Be safe.